We want to live a long time, but in good health. I feel good on the inside. I want that reflected on the outside. And the other thing that really grates on me is that sunscreen causes cancer. Such misinformation. I just wish like that kind of nonsense and misinformation would go away, which is why I'm out here on these podcasts.
Today we're joined by Dr. Mary Alice Mina, a Harvard-trained, double-board certified dermatologist, international speaker, author, and host of the Skin Real podcast. Dr. Mina is known for bringing clarity and honesty to skincare, helping people move beyond trends and quick fixes to understand what truly supports healthy skin from the inside out. In this episode, we talk about aging with intention, simplifying skincare routines, and making informed, science-backed choices that actually work. If you're feeling overwhelmed by skincare advice or want a grounded approach to caring for your skin at any age, this conversation is for you.
If you did nothing else but protect your skin from the sun, you would be years ahead of everyone else. I'm a big fan of estrogen cream for midlife ladies.
Can you actually share what it's doing in all the areas?
The important things that estrogen does in our bodies, it has a role in hair growth. So that's why a lot of postmenopausal women or perimenopausal women notice hair loss. You might have heard reports about people getting sick from counterfeit Botox. You need to go see someone reputable. Like, this is not where you're shopping for the best price. People have been looking at Botox. This is a natural toxin from a bacteria that's found in soil. It can be found in honey, which is why we tell little parents not to give babies honey before a year. What's cool is like medicine has been able to harness the effects of it in a safe manner. We are so critical of ourselves. I think we just also need to give ourselves permission to be 45, 55, 65. We shouldn't try to go back to 20.
For the average middle-aged woman, if you had 3 products, anything you would recommend?
Yeah, well, so I'll just tell you what I use.
Welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast, where we empower you to take charge of your health and happiness. We're Marnie
and Stephanie,
board-certified integrative health practitioners, holistic wellness coaches, and passionate explorers of all things mind, body, and soul.
Each week, we bring you expert insights, real-life stories, and practical tools to help you bridge the gap between where you are now and where you truly want to be. From longevity and nutrition to mindset, movement, and healing, we dive deep to uncover the root causes of wellness and vitality.
Join us and our growing community as we explore what it really means to create your art of living well in a way that's authentic, sustainable, and uniquely yours.
When I look at the recordings, like when we're editing or reviewing, and I'm looking at the lines around my eyes, and I don't know if they just look drier or something, but it's really bothering me lately. So maybe I don't know. It's one of those things, like it just hits you. Like people are like, well, now finally I want to do something because I'm looking at the mirror consistently, and it just bothers, like what I see is bothering me, right?
Oh, yeah. I think with COVID too, we started looking at ourselves, staring at ourselves, right? Like I never stared at myself like that before. And then you're like, oh my gosh, is that really what I look like when I'm talking? But I forget the statistic that says like, it's something crazy, like 90% of the time when you're on a call, people are just staring at themselves.
Yeah.
Well, and we're recording on video. When we started this podcast, it was all audio. I was even saying to Stephanie today, like now with all this video, it's like there's an extra pressure on how you need to look.
Which I think maybe is why the younger generations are even that much more in tune and like already talking about like in their 20s, even teenagers. They're like, well, when I'm so-and-so, I'm going to start getting Botox. And I'm like, what? In your 20s? And I even have a client recently was talking about lip fillers and she's like 24. And I'm like, she's like, maybe I'll just do Botox too. And I'm like, what would you?
Yeah, no, they're coming in. It seems like younger and younger. They are asking for specific treatments. Like they've heard about things, they want things. They've heard about preventative Botox, stuff like that. I personally couldn't afford anything in my 20s. I was in medical school and poor and in debt, but yeah, you don't necessarily need a lot, but there are people who, they're starting younger and younger. And I think it's because they've grown up, right? They're digital natives. They've grown up with Instagram and Facebook or TikTok, whatever it is, right? And they're used to the whole concept of get ready with me and selfies and all that stuff. So,
well, because before it was only when you looked in a mirror. So you were in school, like how many times a day you looked in the mirror aside from morning and night, going to the bathroom, and that's about it. or the pocket mirror. I guess I did have a pocket mirror, but it wasn't like examining myself. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I also will talk to people like previously we used to just compare ourselves to like our immediate circle of friends, right? Like parents at school or your neighborhood or your family, but now we see the whole world. We see
Yeah.
everyone. So it's not just celebrities, right? We're seeing all these people, and so we're also seeing filtered images, right? Even if we know in our brain, like, okay, that's Photoshop, that's filtered, like it's still like, ooh, I don't look like that, right? When you see that unfiltered picture of yourself. So it's tough. It's hard. It's no joke.
Yes. So welcome, Dr. Mina, to our show. We are so excited to have you on. Marnie and I have been wanting to have a dermatologist on our podcast for a long time. And though we've touched on clean beauty and some different products when it comes to skin and anti-aging and longevity, we are just really excited to share your immense knowledge and how it blends science and longevity and holistic wellness and just real life. So we want to dive in and talk all things anti-aging, interventions. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So before we dive in and talk about all those fun topics, one question for you. Beach walk, mountain hike, or yoga mat? Where are you most at peace?
Ooh, I would probably say yoga mat. I love my yoga and I don't get to do it as much as I would like, but I try to do it once a week, like a hot yoga. And that is like my me time. I never thought I'd wake up early on a Saturday morning to work out, but yes, that is where I am. So yeah, I love all of those, but I would say yoga number one.
Awesome. What type of yoga do you prefer? Well, you said hot yoga, but
here's the thing, and maybe you ladies can relate or your audience. I wouldn't choose hot yoga necessarily. It seems like everywhere where I live, it's all hot yoga. And then the times that work for me, they're hot yoga. So I don't necessarily love hot yoga because I have to do the whole hair wash afterwards. So I have to schedule my yoga when I'm due to wash my hair. I'm not going to work the next, that.
I can relate 100%. I'm going to hot yoga tomorrow morning and I have a hair appointment tomorrow.
Oh, that's good timing. Yeah.
Yep.
So I will say there is something like really accomplish something, right? When you come out of there and you're sweaty and all that, and it is good for warming your muscles up, but it does require some like forethought and planning with the hair situation. Cause I do not like to wash my hair that often, but after hot yoga, I have to.
Yeah. Although I will say I do use dry shampoo.
Oh yeah.
So that also helps.
But hot yoga, you are like dripping. I mean, it's like you're getting out of a swimming pool. It's really hard to save the hair. It's like a sauna. I mean, basically it's the same.
I've even thought about this. I haven't done it, but I've thought about what if I Botox my scalp? Would that help me? I know it would help me sweat less. And I actually have done that for patients, but I still think you're going to need a good shower afterwards. So I'll get yoga any way I can get it, but it tends to be a hot yoga. That's the class that works for me. And it does help warm up my muscles, because in middle age, right? Like it takes a little more to warm up those muscles and that flexibility.
Well, let's change gears a little bit. You have such a unique blend of traditional dermatology and holistic wellness. And I'm wondering what originally drew you to kind of bridge those two worlds together.
Yeah. So I think my whole world kind of got turned upside down during the pandemic. Same for a lot of people, right? I turned 40. I thought I had a secure job as a doctor and I'm sitting at home and I don't have patients coming in. And I'm thinking, what happens when I can't physically go in and see patients and or maybe I'm sick or hurt or whatever. And I started listening to a lot of podcasts and I also started noticing things I didn't like about myself. Like I had put on a little bit of weight. I was looking at pictures of myself and I was like, didn't recognize myself. Like, who is that person staring back at me? And I never thought that before. And I'm getting a lot of friends asking me questions too, noticing our necks, like we're looking at a part of our body I'd never really thought about before, and my neck on camera. And what I kind of realized is for so many years, like 40 years, I was just like burning the candle at both ends. I was going to medical, college, medical school, residency, starting a family, starting my career. And I had all these terrible habits that I was just doing, not sleeping, stressed out. I always tried to eat well, but, drinking alcohol every day, having at least a glass of wine a day. And I realized like all these things are catching up to me. And I realized if I want the next 40 years of my life to be really healthy and vibrant, and like I need to, it's like a boat. Like I was just kind of slightly off course, but 10 years later, then I was way off course. And I knew I didn't like that trajectory. And as a dermatologist, I kind of knew how to take care of my skin. But what I also realized is I actually have to take care of my body for my skin to reflect the health as well. So it wasn't just about doing cosmetic procedures or putting on sunscreen and topicals. I actually really needed to kind of do a reset on my whole body to get my best skin, especially as I hit, midlife, because I want the next 40 years of my life to be, even better. And I already saw I was getting off course and I wanted to correct.
I mean, that's such a great just story and personal insight into what you went through. And a lot of women we know are in the same position and they're just maybe feeling a little off. And like you said, you couldn't do a bunch of procedures and we're going to talk about those today, but it's really the inside comes out, right? Like when you don't drink enough water, your skin's dry. And so just little things like that can really impact how you see yourself and how you feel on the inside. So Marnie and I talk a lot about longevity and anti-aging, and those words are being thrown all around in this space. So in your view, what do those really mean? And specifically when we're talking about skin health.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like all about longevity, right? Like for me, longevity is not just like living longer and having skin longer. It's actually like looking and feeling my best for as long as possible, because we all don't want to live a long time, but in really poor health. We want to live a long time, but in good health. I feel good on the inside. I want that reflected on the outside, and vice versa, right? So to me, longevity is just really making impactful choices today so that your skin or your body, whatever organ, is functioning optimally in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I think what people don't realize, like these little, it's kind of like from Atomic Habits, like these small, little, tiny things you think don't make a difference, right? They're so subtle, so little. You're like, how can that possibly have a big impact? But if you do that every day, for years and years and years, you are going to reap the benefits down the road. So that to me, longevity is all about prevention and maintenance. And then harnessing, this is a really cool time to be alive, because I feel like finally middle-aged women, we're finally talking about menopause. We're not thinking like you hit 50 and you're like put out to pasture, right? Like we realize like you can be 50 and you're really perhaps just at the halfway point of your life. And then we're also, realizing so many regenerative treatments and therapies that are coming to light. So I just think really this whole area is going to just explode even more in the next like 5 to 20 years. But again, so longevity, it's living as healthily as possible, keeping my skin as in the best shape as possible. I want to look good. I want to feel good, right? And so that's what that is. Anti-aging is, I try not to use this term, but it's so ingrained in all of us, right? Like I think we all know about anti-aging, but I feel like that's sort of like the old way to think about aging. And it's a very reactive process. It's like, oh, I got to stamp out every wrinkle. I got to erase every line on my face. I got to try to look like I'm 20 when I'm 50 or whatever. And I feel like that's kind of a unhealthy way to approach aging. First of all, I think we have to reframe aging. Like it's not this terrible thing. In fact, if we're not aging, you're not here. So that's number one. Not everything about aging is great. I get it. But if we can, 60 today is a lot different than what 60 looked like 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? Like the Golden Girls were in their 50s, and then you think Sex and the City, they were also in their 50s. Right. So I just think anti-aging is more reactive, and I like to think of a more sort of proactive approach, which is focusing on longevity.
So thinking about skincare and women, and knowing that we are all individual and we all have different types of skin, what are some things as women are aging that they can do to their skin or for their skin to keep looking healthy, I guess. Not necessarily wanting to erase every line
Sure.
and whatever, but like to safely age and look amazing.
It's like prevention's number one, right? Like prevention is worth a pound of cure. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So really like thinking about even before you feel like you need to think about it, getting a good skincare routine, which is not complicated, but at a minimum, it has to be a gentle cleanser, a moisturizer, and sunscreen.
Are you loving this conversation and want even more ways to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life? Then we'd love for you to join our growing community on Substack. When you subscribe, you'll get bonus content and behind the scenes insights from us. Plus, you'll be the first to know about our upcoming programs and events. Your support helps us keep bringing inspiring guests and impactful conversations straight to you each week. So head to the link in our show notes, sign up today, and let's continue this journey together to create the art of living well.
I feel like people think, oh, dermatologists, they always talk about sunscreen and it gets old. But if you did nothing else but protect your skin from the sun, you would be years ahead of everyone else. And I would just say for anyone who's over like 30, like look at the skin of your abdomen versus, or your buttocks versus your arms or legs or your face, right? Or even like the inner part of your arm versus the top part of your arm. Like there can be such a stark difference simply from sun protected and sun exposed skin, but you don't see it when you're in your 20s or even 30s, right? And so people think, oh, it's not that big a deal, but it's a huge accelerator of aging. So, that's number one, sun protection, healthy lifestyle. So if you smoke, it's going to prematurely age you. So that's a big one. I do feel like, at least in this day and age, we've kind of moved away from smoking, but now I'm seeing a lot of young people vaping. Yes.
Well, I will say I have young adults and college age kids. And when I've gone to parents' weekends, I was shocked by the number of college students smoking cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like it's making a comeback and it's shocking to me. I was dumbfounded.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's that is upsetting to hear, but yeah, I mean, cause that's a huge accelerator of aging. So those are two things to focus on your diet and exercise. Like try to, no matter what age you are, but try to, start doing that now, no matter what age you are, because it will help you 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And then I would say everyone's unique in what they need or what they want to do, but they're definitely in-office treatments that can help remove sun damage if someone has a lot of sun damage and maybe they're in their, 50s or 60s and they want to kind of undo some of that. They're procedures and products that can help with collagen boosting. I'm a big fan of estrogen cream for midlife ladies. We know our skin has estrogen receptors and we know that we lose our estrogen. And I think people don't realize like middle-aged women who are postmenopausal have lower estrogen levels than their husbands. Right. I mean, that's crazy to me. And, and so topical, not even getting into the systemic hormone replacement therapy that, you can talk to your primary care or GYN about that. But topical estrogen is very safe. We do need more studies. So I am going to just put that out there. Again, this is an area that has lacked scientific research for so long. But what we do know is that it can be safely used with minimal absorption, even when it's used on the vaginal mucosal skin, which will absorb things much more easily. And so using it on skin like your face, your hands, your chest can be impactful.
Can I just ask a little bit, because I've heard of the vaginal estrogen cream.
Yeah.
I was listening to one of your podcasts that you did on your show and you were talking about this, but can you share for our audience, what specifically, there's so many other creams and products. So what is this doing on your face, on a middle-aged woman's?
Well, can you actually share what it's doing in all the areas?
Yeah. So our skin has estrogen receptors. Really, every organ of our body has estrogen receptors. And then all of a sudden it's gone to zero, right? Or virtually zero. And so we're learning all about the important things that estrogen does in our bodies. It has a role in hair growth. So that's why a lot of postmenopausal women or perimenopausal women notice hair loss. It helps with keeping our skin barrier intact. It helps retain moisture. So again, how many middle-aged women women are like, all of a sudden my skin's dry, or all of a sudden I'm getting rashes. So it helps with the integrity of our keratinocytes, which are our skin cells. It helps with our skin barrier. It helps with plumping up the cells. And this is what it does in the vaginal skin, right? So the vaginal skin goes through atrophy, which means it thins out. It loses its hydration and moisture. Then it can be prone to skin breaks and UTIs and pain. And so by using vaginal estrogen, it actually increases the fullness or the hydration of that skin. So it's also doing it in the skin on our bodies. The studies that we do have show it actually works better on skin that has less sun damage. So another reason to, again, really focus on sun protection as well. So there, you could, if you've got vaginal estrogen cream, there is no reason why you can't use it on your face. I tend to use mine at night because it's a little bit thicker, and I don't tend to have super dry skin at this point. If it's too thick and kind of you don't like the consistency, there are some varieties that are made just for the face. They tend to be estriol versus estradiol, and they can be much lighter. And you can kind of think of it as a moisturizer. That's how I think about it.
So you're used in place of a moisturizer?
I am. Personally, I'm using it in place of a moisturizer, but I do not have very dry skin to begin with. So some people may need to use it alongside a moisturizer as well.
And what is the potential downside?
I can't think of one.
Okay, so just curious.
Well, I will say there really are minimal. There have been some maybe anecdotal reports that could this worsen melasma, which we know is very hormonally driven. I think there've been like a handful of single reports of this. So if you are someone who has very severe melasma, or you've just spent a lot of time and money trying to get your melasma under control, maybe that would be someone I wouldn't use it on. But otherwise, the studies that we have been really remarkable in showing how safe it is. And I'm super excited the FDA is removing that black box warning too. Because I know a lot of women, I'll tell them, I think estrogen would be great for you. And then I'm like, oh, by the way, you're going to pick up your prescription. It's going to have this really scary warning on it. Just don't forget about that. So they are, thankfully, the FDA is removing that because has not borne out to be true. So it is safe.
So I'm wondering, there's so much misinformation out there about skincare in general, and people are saying use these products and this product, and Botox is good and Botox is bad. And what are some things that just make you want to cringe that you hear people say when it comes to skincare and longevity, and you should be doing this or whatever?
There's so much. There is so much noise out there, and I call it the hot girl hamster wheel. And you can let me know if you can relate to this, but I feel like we start doing a few things, like maybe you get a little Botox, and then you start like coloring your hair, and then you're waxing, and you're dry brushing, and you're lasering and LED, and it's like these things, they just add up. We never let go because we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if it's working. What's going to happen if I stop? I'm going to, look awful. And it's just exhausting. And I feel for people who feel like they're on the hot girl hamster wheel. I've certainly been on it, and I have to like every year or so take a step back and be like, okay, we don't need to be doing this. But it is overwhelming because there's so much. And what I'll tell like my patients is, there's so many things we can do. It doesn't mean we have to, and we don't have to do everything, right? And it's okay if what you're doing is different from your best friend. Just because she got a laser doesn't mean that you need that laser. And like, I had never even had a laser on my face, even though I trained where they were like developed and people are like, oh, you don't think they work? I'm like, no, they work. I didn't need one, right? Like I just didn't have a need to have one. So it's okay to not do something. And it's okay to stick with what you're using. And even if it's not like the trendy thing out there, if it's working for you and you think your skin's looking great, then keep up with it. But I do find there's this, and I feel it too. I'll go to conferences. I'm like, oh my gosh, evidently I need this. So it is overwhelming. So I just want your audience to know, like, you don't have to do everything. And in fact, you shouldn't do everything. You should find someone you trust, someone who really does know about the skin. They're not just selling you things, and that you can kind of have like a long-term relationship with. Like, I think also with skin, people like bounce around. It's almost like the Groupon or how much is this? And they kind of price shop and all that. And really, I think you'll get the best results if you find like one person who you trust, you like their approach, and kind of like your hairdresser. You're in a committed relationship with them. I think that makes a big difference. Make sure whoever's giving you advice like actually has credentials and knows what they're talking about. I mean, I was just at a holiday party, and one of the gifts was a Obagi skincare product. I like Obagi. I know Dr. Susan Obagi. She's wonderful. They have great products, but people didn't even know what the product was. Like they didn't even know what it was for. And they were going crazy over it, like stealing it. I need it. I'm like, you don't even know what it is. It could be for rosacea and you don't have that, or it could be for dark spots and you don't have that. So it just kind of made me laugh a little bit. Like, we're just like so excited by skincare. I'm like, I'll take it. I'll grab it. And you don't even know what it does or if you need it. So that can be overwhelming. And then the other thing that really grates on me is that sunscreen causes cancer. Like it is such misinformation. And it really makes me sad when I see like parents refusing to put sunscreen on their kids or sun protect, because they're not going to see the damage until those kids are grown and older. And so I just wish like that kind of nonsense and misinformation would go away, which is why I'm out here on these podcasts, even though I have a full-time job as a doctor, because I'm so passionate about that.
Well, those are all great. That's such great insight. And I love what you said about like having a trusted practitioner in your court that you are consistently seeing, who is staying up to date on the latest trends, but not,
Right.
but doing the homework and research for you so that you don't have to go like trying 50 million products and to see what sticks. But I have one question for you related to sunscreen, which I do think is important. But how do you balance that with getting natural vitamin D from the sun and the importance of getting vitamin D?
Yeah. So vitamin D you can get from a few sources. Sunlight is one, food, although the food sources aren't that great, and then supplementation. Mm-hmm. The issue with vitamin D is, first of all, get your levels checked. Like find out if you even are deficient. Where I live is pretty sunny most of the year. I have very light skin, and I think I was on the low to normal end. I'd broken a bone, so I've started supplementing. But if you tend to live in an area where it gets very dark, 3:00, 4:00, it's dark in the winter, and you have darker skin, you're going to have a harder time metabolizing or synthesizing vitamin D in your skin. So the first step is to check your levels. And then they've actually done studies looking at people who wore sunscreen and who didn't, and they found no difference in vitamin D levels. And so the thing with sunscreen is no one is putting on enough and as consistently and covering all parts of their body. So even if you're wearing sunscreen, that's really not the main reason why you're not getting vitamin D. Probably it's more so like we're inside all the time and we aren't as active. But it's way safer to just supplement than to go outside and try to guess how much, time you need in the sun. Usually it's very brief amounts. And most of us do get that because we aren't totally covering every inch of our skin with sunscreen when we're outdoors. So the safest is just to supplement, get your levels checked, see where you are. If you're like, I am going outside without sunscreen, then do it in the first thing in the morning or at the end of the day. So when the sun is not like its most intense, and then avoid burning, right? Like just try not to burn. And really you don't need, most likely 5 to 10 minutes is more than enough.
Well, it's so interesting because we've had many different guests with many different takes on vitamin D and the sun and sunscreen in general. And it would be lovely to have a recommendation from you on what type of sunscreen you like, because you are familiar with like the EWG, which I'm assuming you are. There are many sunscreens that are said to be toxic, whether or not you agree with that. So as the chemicals absorb into your skin, are there certain sunscreens that you really like and recommend?
Yeah. So you have to take the EWG with a grain of salt. They are not an unbiased network and group, and companies can pay them money to be on it and not on it. And so let's just look at the science and the data. There have been no studies showing harm to humans from sunscreen use. Period. There have been studies where rats have eaten copious amounts of sunscreen that would never be anywhere near what a human applying it to their skin topically could equate to, who have had issues. But again, it's not apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges, right? We're not eating the sunscreen. We're not eating 10 million times our body weight in sunscreen. We're applying it topically to the skin. The other thing is, yes, we know our skin absorbs things. That's why we use things on our skin, right? And they absorb. So there have been studies showing that some of the chemicals in sunscreens are absorbed into the bloodstream, but there have been no studies showing harm from that. So if that makes you nervous, then I would recommend using a mineral-based sunscreen. So these are things like zinc and titanium. And those are great sunscreen. I would say some of those sunscreens can be a little bit thicker. They can have a little more of a white cast to it. And so I hate to say hands down, everyone needs a mineral sunscreen, because if you have darker skin, it's hard to find a mineral sunscreen that rubs in nicely and doesn't make you have that sort of like white cast on your skin. So nowadays there are better ones for sure, but I would say stick with a mineral-based sunscreen if you are concerned about that. But I would also just say the science does not show any reports of human harm or injury from topical sunscreen use.
Are you tired of bland meals and feeling drained? Well, it's time to shake things up with Redmond salt. From their pure, unrefined real salt to their bold seasoned salts, Redmond brings out the best in every bite. And when it comes to hydration, Relight electrolytes deliver the clean, science-backed replenishment your body craves, without the junk found in other sports drinks. I've been drinking their delicious electrolytes daily for over 3 years and really notice a difference when I don't have them. They have packets that are easy for travel and on the go. I also absolutely love their seasoned salts, and my favorites right now are the lemon pepper, taco seasoning, and chili lime, the perfect complement for Taco Tuesday. Why do we love Redmond so much? Their products don't contain any fillers or additives, just the good stuff your body needs to thrive. So whether you're fueling a tough workout, upgrading your favorite recipe, or just staying hydrated, Redmond has your back. Try Redmond Real Salt and Relight electrolytes today, because what you put in your body matters. Go over to redmond.life.com and use the code LivingWell15 for 15% off your first order. Taste and feel the difference. So let's pivot a little bit. What would be, say, your top 3, recognizing, as we already have said, that everyone is in a different place, your skin is different, and it changes as you age. So let's say for the average middle-aged woman, if you had 3 products, like a simple routine, but 3 specific products, maybe in addition to sunscreen and like a night cream and just sort of an eye cream, anything you would recommend?
Yeah, well, so I'll just tell you what I use, because
Perfect.
It's pretty boring and pretty simple, but I've been consistent with it for, since my 20s or late 20s. So I have a gentle cleanser. I've been using the Dove Beauty Bar I started using it when my pediatric dermatology attendings would tell families who have kids with eczema and really, really sensitive skin. Started using it. The price point's amazing and it works. And I use it on my face and my body. So you do not need to have a separate one. So again, like there's so many good cleansers out there, but a gentle cleanser is all you need. And it can be very simple. I would avoid things with a lot of botanicals and fragrances and things like that. They smell wonderful, right? Maybe use them on your hands, but I wouldn't put that on your face. So gentle, bland, no frills. That's the kind of cleanser you want. And then I would recommend some sort of antioxidant in the morning. So this could be a vitamin C. A lot of times vitamin C is paired with different things. And there are so many different vitamin Cs nowadays. There's, the classic one is SkinCeuticals. It's very expensive. It oxidizes very quickly, but it's real light, but it can be sort of sticky. But I know like Vanicream makes a really nice one that's a little more hydrating if you tend to have drier skin. So I think middle-aged ladies, our skin is starting to get a little bit drier. So some sort of vitamin C or antioxidant works wonderfully. I'm kind of flipping a little bit in my routine. I now use Elm Biosciences. That's Martha Stewart's new skincare line. I really like that one too. But some sort of antioxidant, drugstore is totally fine. Okay. So CeraVe makes a great vitamin C. Vanicream makes a great one for sensitive skin. You do not need to go spend $200 something on the SkinCeuticals unless you love it. Then by all means, go for it. Then I do sunscreen. So if you have dry skin, then I would use a moisturizer first. And again, I love just like simple, bland moisturizer. So I'm a big fan of CeraVe, La Roche-Posay. I think they make really nice, elegant sunscreens, and the price point is phenomenal. Everyone's going to be a little different. So I, again, tend to have more oily skin. So I want it really light. I don't want to feel like anything is on my skin. But if you also have really dry skin, or you were saying your skin's getting dry around your eyes, you may want to have something a little bit thicker. So, play around with it, and it'll probably change from summer to winter, right? On the thickness and stuff like that. And then I always follow up with my sunscreen, and that's my morning routine, right? So it's, what is that? 3 things, maybe 4 if you use a moisturizer.
Okay. What about for your evening routine then?
Yeah. So my evening routine. Oh, and I forgot to mention, well, I should say, I actually don't wash my face in the morning. I used to when my skin was oilier, but now it is starting to get a little drier. I just splash water on it. So you don't need to wash your face in the morning if you don't want to. Okay. But I do recommend washing it in the evening, because for most of us, like, we're awake during the day, we might have makeup on, we've been out and about. We want to get all that oil, debris, makeup, all of that stuff off our face. So I do wash my face at night. And I know some people are like, do I double cleanse and all that? The only reason, no, you don't need to double cleanse. So the double cleanse, that's optional. But if you are wearing makeup, or you have a thicker sunscreen, a mineral-based sunscreen, you may find that helpful to do that. So let's see, wash my face. And then again, I'm adding an extra in here, but I am now using an exosome serum at night. This is kind of new in the last year. I really love Plated. You guys have probably heard about exosomes.
I just started using Plated.
Yeah, I love it. And it's from up by you all, Mayo. But okay, that's like an extra. So you don't have to do that part. But I use tretinoin, which is a prescription strength retinol, which I do recommend a retinol for people really 30 plus. and then I follow it up with either a moisturizer or my estrogen cream. So my evening step has clean and then 3 things. And again, the Plated's optional. Yeah.
So can we talk about retinol for a minute? Because retinol is a prescription, unless you go to Mexico, right? Then you can just buy it there, from what I understand.
Retinol, like OL, is over the counter.
Okay. So is that what you're saying? Retinol OL? Or are you saying
I'm saying retinoid. It's very confusing, but I'm using a prescription strength, but you can use over the counter.
So when you said you recommend it for everyone 30 plus, are you talking about the retinol or the retinoid?
Really either. I think it warrants a discussion, right? If the reason people kind of shy away from using a retinoid is that it can be irritating. So I tell it's like working out at the gym. It really sucks when you start working out. You're sore. You can't do anything. It hurts. You don't see the results, right? And you're like, I just want to quit. Or maybe that's just me. So I liken it to that, because you're going to start using it. It's not going to be fun. You're going to be a little peely. You're going to be extra dry. And you're going to do this for a couple of weeks. And you're like, I don't see the results. And I remember starting it again when I was a dermatology resident, and I'm seeing all my attendings recommend it. I used it for about a year before I looked in the mirror and was like, oh, I see what they're talking about now. But what it does is it's got such great data. And I really say, of topical products, it has the best science behind it. And it's a powerful collagen booster. So I am all about boosting my collagen. And so it's super powerful. It increases cell turnover, which slows down as we get older. It thickens up our skin and makes it plumper. It helps with fine lines. It helps with discoloration. So maybe you've got some melasma or some sun damage or some freckling or whatever, and it can help. The thing is, it can be irritating, and it's like working out. It takes kind of getting used to, and it's not overnight. And I think people, they quit too soon. But if you just did that and sun protection, I think you would be, again, like light years ahead of other people. So I'm sort of the mindset, like, go big or go home. If I'm going to do it, I want like the strongest one, and I want to try to make that work. But I know some people have very, very sensitive skin, and they they just can. And there's no harm in starting with a retinol over the counter and sort of building up to it, getting used to it if you like.
I couldn't agree more because I've used it a few times in my life and I've gone through the pain, and then I would stop using it because I was using too much. One, you only need such a little bit amount.
Yeah.
And then I do think kind of like strength training, like you don't do it every day back to back. You
Right.
alternate your days. And then what my esthetician recently, or maybe a couple months ago, mentioned, she's like, do the sandwich method. Like use a product first on your skin, then put the tretinool on, and then add your night cream so that you have a little bit of a buffer. I don't know what you think about that, and I don't have any dryness from it. It doesn't bother me anymore. And I can use it every night now.
Yeah. I mean, that's impressive, right? But yeah, the sandwich method is great. Putting on a light moisturizer, then doing the tretinoin, following up with a moisturizer, that can be helpful. I do find I am not sponsored by Plated. I just do think there's really good science behind their product. I do find using that in my estrogen cream, I am not as dry, and I have been able to get back to using it, my tretinoin, most nights. And if I have an area that's a little dry or flaky, then I just avoid that area the next night. So yeah, it takes some getting used to, and it's not a quick fix. And I think that's why a lot of people, they give up too fast on it. But the prescription strength tretinoin costs like $50, $60. And for what it does, I just think it's such a good bang for your buck if you can weather it out. I don't even want to say weather it out, but if you can kind of stick with it and be consistent.
Yeah. And it lasts a long time.
Yeah.
Like one little tube lasts a long
Exactly.
time.
So I've never tried a retinol, if you can believe that, because I have super sensitive skin, and I've always heard it thins your skin and it makes it peely. And I don't know, I just have shied away from it, but now you're making me more curious. But I think I would definitely try an over the counter first.
Yeah. And so I want to touch on your thing about thinning the skin, but they also make so great ones over the counter. They also have, that term medical grade, like companies like SkinCeuticals, Obagi, Hydrinity, they all make a lot of them make a retinol, which is kind of a little bit stronger and less irritating. And it's like one step closer to the active form. And so a lot of these companies are making some that are less irritating. So I would just encourage you, try it out. Those can be a little bit pricier, but they can be less irritating. So if you are someone who has really sensitive skin, then yeah, by all means, start with that. I do want to address where people say it thins your skin. It actually doesn't. It thickens your skin. It thickens your skin with collagen. And they've done studies where they actually look at the skin histologically under a microscope, and they see that the skin where your collagen is, the dermis, is thicker. What it thins out is that top layer of skin that makes our skin kind of dry and peely. And that's our stratum corneum, and that slows down as we get older. So if you have seen older people's skin, a lot of times it's kind of flaky and it almost needs like a good exfoliation. Yeah. And so that's what the tretinoin is doing. It's helping with that cell turnover. It's helping kick that cell turnover into gear, back into its like regular cycle. So it's not thinning your skin like in a bad way. It's thickening your skin, in fact.
So someone new to retinol in general, if they wanted to introduce it, would start with something on the lower end.
Right.
And not do it every day. Am I understanding that right?
Yes, you got it. So a couple pointers if you're starting with it, whether over the counter or in certainly prescription strength. You want your skin to be clean and dry. So when you put products on moist skin, it increases the absorption. So that's why we say put moisturizer on skin that's slightly damp. It's going to actually pull that moisture in and lock it in. We actually don't want that with the retinols because it can be too irritating. So I usually recommend once you clean your skin, let it actually dry for a minute, and then do your product, and then use a tiny piece. So what Stephanie said, that you don't need a lot, especially of the prescription. This is not a moisturizer. So it shouldn't feel like a moisturizer. You put one little pea on your, dab it on your whole face. I'm also doing my chest, neck, and tops of my hands. Wish I had done that back in my 20s. And so I do another dot for those. And you had mentioned, Stephanie, about eye cream and stuff like that, but I use it right around my eyes. I don't use it on my upper eyelids, but I do certainly go within my, around like the orbital rim of my eye. And I do that sort of at the end where I don't have a lot on my finger, just lightly. there.
Okay. And then would you, because I've heard that on another podcast with someone else. And I was like, oh my gosh, using that near my eye, it seemed like drying. But then would you put on an eye cream on top of that then?
So I don't use an eye cream.
Okay.
So I would just use your regular moisturizer.
Okay. So why don't you use an eye cream? There's a huge industry out there.
Yeah, I guess I am one of those people who unless I really need a discrete product for that area, like I don't want to use it. I mean, it's why my face wash is my body wash. And, I don't like gadgets in my kitchen that can only do one thing. I don't see the benefit for me personally of an eye cream. I do not have puffy eyes. I don't need the caffeine to help with puffiness or swelling. I don't have discoloration around my eyes. So for me, I don't see what an eye cream would do. But if you're someone who does have some discoloration around the eyes, or you wake up, your eyes are really puffy, and getting an eye cream with a little caffeine can help bring that down, then sure, that's an option. But I think sometimes people just think, oh, I need an eye cream. But you don't really need an eye cream. So that could be one less thing to use, and just put your tretinoin or your retinol around your eye, carefully, not in the eye, and then just follow up with a moisturizer.
Okay. Well, this is very insightful and very, I think, just informative for all of our listeners. So before we run out of time, we have to talk about Botox. So can we just go straight to it? Like, is it safe? How does it really impact longevity? I mean, people have been using it now for decades. I'm in my early 50s, and I remember hearing about it for sure in my mid 30s. So there's some science now and data. Let's just dive in. Can you just talk about it, like the science behind it and all that?
Yeah, I think it's such a cool story. It's a husband and wife, a dermatologist and ophthalmologist couple. And it was actually being used to treat strabismus, which is where the eye muscles were too tight and the eyes wouldn't focus in the same direction. And they were injecting around the eyes, in between the eyes, and the patients would get better and their strabismus was fixed. And so then the doctor was able, like, okay, you don't need to come back. You're all set. You're good. And they were like, no, I want to come back. And they're like, well, why? And they're like, because those lines in between my eyes have gone away and I love it and it's wonderful. So that is truly how it was discovered as a cosmetic. And so then this husband and wife duo, the wife will say, then she started injecting herself to see if it was safe. And she jokes that she's never frowned since. So it was started to, and people have been looking at Botox. So again, people who want natural, like this is a natural toxin from a bacteria that's found in soil. It can be found in honey, which is why we tell little parents not to give babies honey before a year. Like botulinum toxin is natural, like it's truly natural. But what's cool is like medicine has been able to harness the effects of it in a safe manner. When you just inject it into the muscle, it just works in the muscle without causing paralysis throughout the whole body, right? And so there's been so much safety studies done on it. We've had decades of research on it, and it's now being used for so many different things. It's really cool. And I have this story. My son actually got a whole vial of Botox when he was about a year old because he had something called torticollis, where his neck muscle was so tight, he could not turn to, I forget which side, the right, I believe. Or no, anyways, he couldn't turn to one side. He had PT. We did stretching. He even had surgery and it still was so tight. So if I did not believe 150% it was safe, there is no way I would ever have let my 1-year-old have 100 units injected into his neck. But I'll tell you, it was a game changer for him that he could finally turn his head and help correct his skull that had become flattened because of that. So we're using it not just in aesthetics, but in so many different medical areas for tight muscles, for sweating.
Even headaches, right? Like,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So safety-wise, incredibly safe. Now, you might have heard not too long ago, there were reports about people getting sick from counterfeit Botox and things like that. So you need to go see someone reputable. Like this is not where you're shopping for the best price. This is, you want to make sure you're getting the legit, real stuff, because there's fake stuff out there, counterfeit stuff out there that has not been tested and can be unsafe. So This is not where you try to save money and all that. But what I love about it is that it's temporary. So I find it's a great, like if you're kind of new to aesthetics and you want to dip your toe, it's a great one to try because it wears off. So we inject it directly into the muscle. It softens the muscles of movement. So people will come to me, and if they really don't like the 11s in between their eyebrows, they want me to erase them. It will prevent you from making that expression. But if you have the lines already etched in on your skin, it's not going to totally remove them. And that's where that whole concept of preventative Botox comes around, because if we can prevent those lines from forming in the first place, then Botox can't treat them once they're already there. It will soften them. But if you've already, if you look in the mirror and you already see lines on your face, then Botox will soften it, but it's not going to erase them. What it's going to do is when you stare in the mirror and you start like raising your eyebrows, scowling. See, I can't scowl. You're raising your eyebrows.
I can't either.
I clearly can.
Those are the muscles it's going to work on. Most common areas are the scowl muscles, those in between the eyebrows, where it's an angry expression. And I get a lot of women coming to me and they're like, I'm so tired of people asking me, why are you angry? And they're like, I'm not angry, but their face looks like they're angry because they have that dynamic, movement in between their eyes. And so that's a real common one. You could do it around the eyes. And for middle age, since this is kind of our audience, as I've gotten older, I'm focusing less on my upper face and actually doing more Botox on my lower face, on my neck, along my jawline.
That sounds painful.
Not any different from your forehead.
So I've never done Botox like below here.
Yeah.
And every time I go, my person wants to, and I just am like, some people look really not good, and so I'm like, I don't want to change the way I look.
Okay, what would it do? Like, all of us have pretty thin.
Yeah, like what would it do on my neck?
Yeah, so if let's see if I can do it. Like, go clench your jaw, right? Okay. So it's going to work on those bands of your neck. Those are your platysmal bands. And then it also can work on like what we call the marionette lines, the lines.
Yeah, I have those.
The puppet lines. And so it can, if you just look in, without talking, do the corners of your mouth go up, down, or just straight out? And if they're starting to go down, first of all, that's kind of just could be natural for you that you just have that expression. But putting a little Botox in the corners, just below the corners of your mouth, can be a subtle way to turn them, not even up, but just make them neutral, so that you don't look like you're frowning, right? That's the whole RBF expression, right? And that just happens because this big muscle in our neck called our platysmal muscle starts pulling everything down. Plus we've got gravity, we have bone resorption, we have all these things. So I do find in middle age, focusing more along the lower face is more impactful. And also my 50 plus ladies, a lot of them are using their forehead to hold their eyelids and eyebrows up. And so I hate to put a lot of Botox in their foreheads because they're going to feel that heavy sensation.
What do you mean they're using I don't even know what you mean.
So if you just kind of like look at people, a lot of people walk around with their eyebrows arched because they have loose skin of their eyelids that's starting to come down.
I see what you're saying.
And their brows are maybe dropping.
So they're using Botox to like go up there?
No. So they're actually walking around with their forehead wrinkled because they're holding
like this.
They're trying to hold their eyelids and brows up.
Oh, just like all the time. Like they're doing that on their own.
They're doing it on their own as like a compensatory reaction. So just start looking at people and they don't even realize they're doing it. But what I don't like about doing Botox in the forehead of people, 50 plus, is that once I take away that ability to raise their brows like that, they're going to feel very heavy because they are not going to be able, they're going to feel like their brows have dropped, but really they're just in their natural position, but they have that heaviness because they are so used to just walking around with their brows a little bit raised to keep their eyes open.
Okay, well then Are you suggesting that they would need an eye lift?
Perhaps.
Okay.
But what I am suggesting is less Botox in the forehead in the immediate time, because that's going to make it worse.
Okay. I'm curious quickly on your thoughts on fillers, PRP, skin pen. I don't know if you can answer these things, but
Love them all. Like, they all have a role. And
okay, so you don't have issues with any of this
I
stuff.
don't, when done well. So microneedling, I love microneedling, especially for younger people. They don't have a lot of sun damage. They want to just kind of build collagen. I love it for scars. PRP is great. I do think PRP is going to be kind of pushed out of the way for newer modalities that don't require our own platelets. So PRP is basically drawing our own blood, spinning it down, pulling off the plasma, which has platelets in it. But the problem is, as we get older, our platelets aren't as robust, and our platelets can vary from day to day. And so it's not as precise. And so what people are starting to do is, well, how can we get those platelet growth factors without, in a more standardized form, without having to rely on someone's blood on a random Wednesday, right? So I do like it, but I do think we'll be seeing some like progress and improvement with that. Fillers are great. I think people are scared of fillers now. They've seen so much bad filler, and there is and I just have to remind people, like, you don't notice the good filler, right? So I do think filler has a role, but it's been way overdone. People look crazy. I do think we're moving towards a more natural look, away from that sort of like caricature look. But
some people look like animals.
Right.
Like they're starting to look like cats. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's gone too far. And I would just say that, filler can be done well, but it's tricky. There are a lot of people doing filler. They get kind of crazy results. And I would just say, look at who's giving you the filler. Because if they look overfilled, you're probably going to look overfilled. But one syringe of filler, you're not going to look like that. Like, you have to use a lot of it. What else did you ask me? I'm loving biostimulants like Sculptra. I'm a big fan of that. Radiesse. That's kind of harnessing your own collagen and building your own collagen. So I do find, especially people into longevity and wellness, they like the idea of their own collagen being stimulated rather than putting in hyaluronic acid fillers. So I'm a big fan of that. Lasers are phenomenal.
Sorry, can we just go back to that one? What is that again? Is that the one where you're activating your own collagen?
But it's needles all over your face.
Not all over.
Okay. I feel like I asked about it once and they said they have to stick needles all over your face.
Is that ProCell? Have you heard of ProCell?
I don't know ProCell, but brand names of Sculptra that you inject of biostimulants are Sculptra, Radiesse. So it does require I use a cannula. So I make maybe 3 little insertion points on the face, and then I use a cannula, which is blunt, to sort of thread it through. They're now coming up with masks that can stimulate. So Revision has a cool one where
so there's no needle,
and it's like you're getting a chemical peel, but they have these special acids in the peel that help the biostimulant penetrate deeper. So that's kind of cool coming out. And then, for midlife ladies, like, a lot of times there's sun damage to erase, there's collagen to boost, and that's where lasers and tightening devices can come in. So all of these are great. You just need to, again, like, have a game plan, have a committed relationship with someone you trust who can kind of help you through, because you can't do all of it. You shouldn't do all of it. And just find the thing that's going to give you like the biggest bang for your buck and what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Well, we know we're running out of time. I feel like we could have you come back on, actually talk more. But if you could just leave, Dr. Mina, our listeners with one message about aging well, what would it be?
Well, let's see. I would say, and this is, I don't mean to be like woo or whatever, but I think we are so critical on our appearance and how we look. And I'm guilty of this too, right? And I think we just need to give ourselves permission to have a couple lines, have a little bit of loose skin. It's okay that you don't look like you're 20. You know, my son will like ream my skin because I have pores or this or that. And I'm like, usually people say I have nice skin. You know, you just have to.
You have beautiful skin, by the way. Like it's
everyone should get on YouTube and watch.
You have stunning skin.
Even my skin, my son like will pick it apart, right? So we are so critical of ourselves. I think we just also need to give ourselves permission to be 45, 55, 65. We shouldn't try to go back to 20 because that's when things look weird. That's when you no longer look like yourself. And to really just kind of embrace, instead of anti-aging, how can I be as healthy, including my skin, right now and in the next 5 years, 10 years, et cetera. And just because there's so many things out there you can do, you do not need to do them all, and have a trusted resource in your corner who can kind of help you and guide you.
I think that's great advice and good reminders for all of us. I mean, sometimes I forget that I'm 52 and I look in the mirror and I'm like, wait, why do I look so old? I thought I was 20. Like,
I get it. I still feel I'm like forever 28.
Yeah, no, totally. So I'm like 27 in my mind, and it's shocking sometimes when you look in the mirror, you're like, wait, that's my daughter's almost that age or whatever. But anyway, you see patients in person and you have so many amazing offerings. And I know you mentioned a challenge. What do you want to share with our listeners about what you have to offer?
Yeah. So I know it's hard to see a dermatologist. There's not a ton of us out there. And especially the way healthcare is now. So I do have my podcast, The Skin Real, REAL. I have to spell that nowadays to people. It's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of that. I also have an app with sort of everything all in one. And if you're middle-aged and you're wondering what the heck is going on with your skin, your body, I do have a guide for you at hi.theskinreal.com/Perry. And you can get sort of my thoughts for maximizing your skin health in midlife.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And we'll link all that up in our show notes as well. So Dr. Mina, one final question that we have for you is, what does the art of living well mean to you?
Ooh, the art of living well. I think it's I'm all about like peace right now, like being at peace where you are, whatever stage of life you're in, whatever you're doing. That's my hope for people, is like peace, right? I feel like when you're younger, maybe it's like money and fame, but now I'm like, I just want peace, and I want a life that brings me joy, that I'm excited to wake up every day. And that to me is the art of living well.
I think we all want that, right?
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show. I feel like we could have talked for another hour, especially as we dove into some of the like new treatments out there, maybe not so new, but new to us.
Yeah.
As we're hitting our 50s and starting to think about some of this stuff. And I feel like I'm bombarded with it every day in various places, whether it's online or friends talking so it was good to kind of hear your perspective on a lot of these different things. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of fun. Would love to come back and do an even deeper dive.
Very fun, especially with all the the collagen and some of that sort of technology, because I don't feel like that is as mainstream. We may know what it is, but my guess is the average middle-aged person may not have heard of it.
Right, exactly. And exosomes, right? Like this is kind of becoming a buzzword. And along with these buzzwords, it's also a lot of snake oil out there. So how do you...
Right. How to determine what's not snake oil.
Well, and it can be very expensive too.
Yeah.
Which is why I like your approach. Like, okay, use the over-the-counter, pretty minimal cleanser and just base moisturizer, and then maybe, because plated is more expensive, right? And some of these things cost money. And so where do you spend your dollars? So.
Yep. That's my derm math for you.
Yeah. And that's important derm math, right?
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, have a wonderful day, Dr. Mina.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Art of Living Well podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more people discover our show.
And if you're ready to take your health and happiness to the next level, we would love to support you. Whether it's through our transformative group programs, personalized coaching, or functional medicine lab testing, we help uncover the root causes of your health challenges and unlock your vitality.
Visit www.theartoflivingwell.us to learn more and book a free discovery call. Until next time, keep creating your art of living well.